Was up?
All right, so welcome back. I'm Jeff El Jefe. You know all this shit. Twitter at EIA Podcast. I'm on Facebook. Everything is Awesome Podcast on Facebook. We have a Facebook group. It's called Friends of Everything is Awesome. Uh, you're welcome to join us over there. And if you have any ideas, if you want to share any of your work for the writing process, hop on over there and get hip, friendo. I guess that'll do her. So I was a little confused last time because um the way it worked out, it went from Portillion being interrogated to Sophris experiencing the thing, and there's nothing in between. So I thought I'd bring a later chapter forward, and there's no need to that. So last we heard, Sophris was at the locked door. Um, and yeah, here we go. Chapter 36. What do you mean you won't use it? Avandi Marshall was furious. I own the I own the most magnificent starship in the galaxy, and you want to take a freighter? Are you insane? My dearest Avandi, I must extol the virtues of this craft. It was piloted by none other than Captain Adelaide Thraxus, hero of the Durban blockade. It is faster and more nimble than any other ship in its class. She's well appointed with sophisticated weaponry and shields, and can weather any environmental condition one can think of. And most importantly for this mission, she's quite lovely. She'll make an excellent backdrop for your film. The crew is surprisingly photogenic as well. Marshall was speechless. She looked off screen to her advisor and then back at San Demon. Make sure the cameras capture everything. Our position in the galaxy requires the finest publicity. Captain, you are a treasured asset to this office. Captain, you are a treasured asset to this office. Good day. As the screen clicked off, she could be seen berating someone in the background. Grundle walked over to San Demon and clapped one huge palm on his shoulder.
Well said, my lord. She was against it, and you won her over. That's not an easy thing to do, from what I've heard.
San Demon smiled back. The Avanti can be quite forceful when she needs to be. Grundle bit his tongue. He had plenty to say on that subject.
Yes. Shall we?
He gestured to the doorway, the opening flanked by two stern-looking guardsmen. The captain turned sharply and marched out of the room, stopping briefly to inspect one of the men's lapels for lint. Finding none, he slapped the man on the chest. Soldier, I like your spirit. Alert your superior. I will be taking you with me upon the Horus. That is all. Grundle shared a confused look with the confused soldier. San Demon was an odd one, but he had the Avandi's ear, so it was best to do whatever he asked. Grundle leaned in.
Good to have you on the team, Jador. See you there.
So that's when I realized upon reread that there's a guy named Jador that's supposed to be on the Horus from here on out. don't know where I'm going to stick him in. So I might pull him out, or who knows? Maybe as I do this, I'll come up with a Jador chapter, or just fit him into various chapters if it wouldn't make sense for him not to be there. Chapter 37. 3 hours and 30,000 connels later, Faline found out where Portillion was being held. She'd hitched a ride out to the area, an industrial zone on the edge of the city, and strangled the driver. It took a few minutes to find the trip log and a few seconds to descramble the data. She didn't enjoy the murder, but she didn't have a choice. When you have to do one, what's one more? The man in charge was a retired lieutenant colonel by the name of Orpheus. He was a renowned concert pianist whose preferred method of killing was a garrote made from piano wire. Faline considered using one of her own on the driver, but decided that would be unnecessarily cute. The less of a signature she could leave behind, the better. Orpheus exited the sedan, flanked by 3 imposing soldiers. A white-haired old security guard closed the gate and returned to a guard shack. On the front of the building was a rusty blue door. A 4th shadow opened it from the inside and welcomed in the 3 men. Rain began to fall, lightly at first, increasing in intensity. Faline hunkered down behind a dumpster and waited for the men to come out. So that should have probably gone before Soper's chapter, but ain't no thing. Sometimes I go back and forth through time a little bit. I think that's all right. But maybe I will, on in retrospect, put this behind Sophus. But then it would start before Sophus makes his move, so I don't know. 30,000 connels. That's about almost a third of the price that it would take to get to book passage on a freighter from Thermopylae to Calustria, which is where they're all kind of headed next. I don't know if I've put anywhere in earlier about the relative prices for things, but I'll probably want to seed that at some point. Let me hit this motherfucking weed. Excuse me. Chapter 38. Joran. Joran, Grundle whispered around the corner where Joran was standing. Joran had hoped no one would notice him. What, Grundle? Joran was drained. Too much glad-handing, having to bro down with officers and enlisted, pretending to study charts and inspect weapons. So much garbage to have to shovel in a single day. It was more exhausting than a full week of manual labor. The gambit has worked. We'll be returning to the Horus. Captain Sandemus is thrilled. You sound positively conspiratorial. I think I miss the old Grundle. He's not gone, bounty hunter. Merely sleeping. So what's my role here? Grundle shrugged.
You're the guy what tells the story. Just show 'em everything they need to know and keep your head down.
And you? Grundle scratched his head.
I don't know. I guess I keep the captain happy and don't let anything bad happen. Not sure what else I'd be good at.
Joran laughed quietly. Maybe we'll come across a malevolent robot you can hack into or something.
Yes, Joran, that sounds really likely.
Grundle tromped back down the hall, presumably to glad hand some new jackass desiring an audience with the great hero. Oh, fuck. I love those two in a chapter together. That's fun. More of that spy shit. I love spy shit. It's all throughout these books. And I don't do any research. I'm just like inventing random shit that's kind of like what I've seen or whatever. Anyway, please. Oh, I'm redoing this chapter because turns out it does go here. It was the Faline one that was a little out of whack. So, anyway. Please, I can't hear anything. Are you still there? Portillion had dropped to his knees. His manacles and leg irons had been removed for the torture session, so he was able to crawl across the thick cement floor. His fingers hit a pool of thick, warm liquid. He couldn't see it, but he could smell it. It was fresh blood, still rippling from wherever it had poured. He leaned back onto his haunches and started to undo the knot holding the hood over his head. He heard a gurgling by the door. Someone was still alive. He half crawled, half stumbled in the direction of the noise. The person was spitting, trying to catch their breath. As Portillion reached them, he managed to yank off their hood. The light was dim, but he could see just about everything. The man at the door was torn from collarbone to groin. Ribbons of flesh and intestines splayed out around him in a delicate pattern, as if his killer had turned his innards into abstract art. The man was trying to turn onto his side, but the best he could do was turn his head. The spittle coming from his lips was mostly blood. Portillion knelt at his side, wishing he could staunch the flow of blood. He knew a spell to knit up wounds, but it required a pinch of oregano and a sprig of mint. They could be replaced with a complex incantation, but he couldn't bring it to mind. He felt useless. All he could do was whisper to the man and hold him as he slipped to the other side. It happened quickly. After the man rattled into death, Portillion took in his surroundings. 3 guards were dead, all killed in similar ways. The colonel, however, was hanging from the center beam, his guts stretched and tied off to all 4 corners of the room. A pile of organ meat lay beneath him, his service pistol resting unbloodied just outside the circle of gore. Whatever had killed these men hadn't just wanted to end their lives, it had taken a personal thrill in their complete destruction. Was this what his pleading had summoned? Portillion feared for his soul. Just then, a knock came from a door in the connected hallway. Portillion went to the door of his room and looked out. In the hallway, he saw another guard whose face and chest seemed to have been brutally beaten as if by a giant. His body hung limply from his crushed skull, half embedded in the wall. How could I have done that? He wasn't even in the room. At one end of the hall, Portillion saw a shimmering figure. He was filled with a sense of calm and serenity. As the figure approached, Portillion recognized his face. Then he passed out. Portillion? Sophris whispered, holding the unconscious man around his thin shoulders. How did this happen? Man, I love it when characters are reunited. Like, and not that these two have spent a lot of time together, but it's like I love rescues, I love reunions, I love get-togethers. I love all that shit. At least in stories like this where there's lots of danger or whatever. Do I have time for one more? Yeah, I think I'll do one more. Chapter 40. Faylene. Celine was there. Faylene wasn't surprised. He was a returner, after all. Once they'd attuned to someone's life energy, they were always able to find them. Faylene had to use money, intimidation, and sometimes knives to find her prey. But hey, whatever gets the job done. What worried her was what came next. She couldn't kill Celine without risking the wrath of the Mistral, but she couldn't let Portillion go with him, or the whole plan would go tits up. Curse the snakes. Joining their ranks was the worst decision she'd ever made, and letting them get leverage on her was completely boneheaded. But what could she do? They had her beloved's daughter, and they would think nothing of beheading her and sending the body to the family in pieces. They'd already hooked Jamila on Wetworm. Now they were threatening to take the last thing Faylene had left in the world. She had to do it. As Celine bundled Portillion into one of the sedans, Faylene plotted her next move. This chick is badass. She is a killer, strangling motherfuckers. All right, you guys. Take care of yourselves. Again, share your work. Get at me. Find out what's up with this one glove. One love, baby. Next time, chapter 41. Sophris. And it looks like another little tweak with time. You'll get into it. Next time on Shattered Worlds, day 1.